Sal Cincotta, and welcome to the 2-Minute Critique. Every week, we are going to look at your pictures. I'm going to give you 2 minutes. I'm going to tell you what's right, what's wrong, all for one reason, so that you can improve as a photographer, get better, and learn from the mistakes you've made. So, without further ado, let's get into it. First image is up. All right, now this looks like it's supposed to be a photojournalistic style image, but the truth is it also feels very staged. So for me, I've got a couple of problems here. I've got a hat here in the left-hand corner, and that's a little bit problematic for me. Doesn't feel like it belongs there, could easily be edited out. And then, of course, your eye will always go to the brightest part of an image, and that right now is this little girl's face in this area right here, which is very nice. There's nothing wrong with that. That drives me in. But the problem is, dad, grandpa, someone here, he just feels annoyed by this shot. He doesn't look as excited as everybody else, which is what makes me feel like this is a very much contrived or posed shot. And so in and of itself, a posed shot isn't necessarily bad, but you've got to be very careful that expressions are matching up and you accomplish the mission that you're looking for in that particular shot. And here it just doesn't feel that way. And I just feel compressed in this shot. Like, I don't know where, I've got all this space up here that really isn't adding to the frame. I'm looking at bright spots here, which is distracting me. Mom's got massive exposure problems on her face, causing problems for me as well. So these are all things that you can absolutely fix in post-production. I know you want to be a purist, that's fine. But if you're going to be a purist, you got to fix these things before you ever make your frame. Keep that in mind. And so these are the kind of things that become very distracting. Shadows, highlights, very important to drive the person through the frame and get them to tell your story, get them to where you want the eye to go. And so this is what's riddled in this particular picture for me. I don't know, what are we at? 10 seconds. We did it 1 minute, 50 seconds. Let's get to the next image. All right, so beautiful image here, fun image. Don't know if it's a senior image, or just a fashion shoot. A couple of things that are getting to me here. Your eye will always go to the brightest part of the image. And so right now, my eye is up in this area, and that's a problem because I don't think that's where I should be looking first, right? I always like, if it's a portrait, I want to be here, right? And so there's a couple of ways you can do that. We can brighten her face. For sure. This is where dodging and burning, it's simple stuff, guys. It doesn't have to be all these complicated things. It can be as simple as dodging and burning. Or more importantly, change your perspective. So because you are shooting this straight on, think about this for a second. We've got two separate images here. If you look at this, we've got this on the left. Think about contrast, right? Think about tonal range. We've got one on the left and then another image here on the right that we're looking at. So we've got two completely different images here. So, and the hardest part to get to is her down here. Now, I do love that, we've got her somewhat bullseye. She's in the center of the frame, but, right, I'm also distracted by the bottom of her boot in both. I don't mind that this foot is cut off on the bottom. That really doesn't bother me as much as all the other potential issues here. And all you had to do was slide left. If you had slid left, you would have taken this top left corner out of frame. And if this is a building behind it in the top right-hand corner, this is where you could have ended up, right, with more of your vision there and given us a much more overall tonal pleased image for that. So how are we doing on time? 15 seconds, 1 minute, 45 seconds. All right, let's go to the next image. I think this is a very beautiful image, but it's not without issues, right? So a couple of issues, composition-wise, if we look at cropping here, okay, if we look at cropping, we can see if we put this grid on, let's show rule of thirds grid, okay, we can see that she's not quite in a third, right? She's in the middle, she's in the top, she's in the bottom. Like, it's compositionally, this image is struggling. But look, if we do this and we bring this in just a little bit, okay, well, now we can do it there where she's splitting that third, even that's better. Or we bring it in just a little bit more to the edge of that table. I like that better. And then I can bring the bottom up just a little bit. Okay, and that becomes a little bit more pleasing just by introducing a little bit of a crop. And so this, again, I like. Let me tell you what I like here. What I like is this funkiness going on. Oops. This funkiness going on right in here, right? So we've got 3 lights, and we've got our beautiful model, portrait, whatever it is. So this little area is where we want my eye to stay, right? And the 3 lights, I like 3, push us back to her, push us back to the lights, so it keeps us in this area. So if you think about it, everything else in this frame is kind of useless. Why do we need it? It's not helping us. So we can really crop even more on this to really drive that point home. So if we want to crop more, do this. Think about this for a second. I can now get in here and make this a little bit more of a square crop, and even that becomes better. Damn it, 10 seconds, the one I needed more time on. I'm robbing from the other 2 pictures. We're gonna have more time. Let's go to brush. The other thing that is driving me nuts here, I hate to say it, is this hand right here. The light's coming down. I love the way you've lit this, but I just look at, we've got a little nub there, okay? That hand should have just been up like this, and then more of that light would have been hitting the back of the hand, and it would have been a much more pleasing shot. 2 minutes, we did it. All right, last image up. Okay, let's dive into this one. So a lot of things wrong here that are just kind of irking me. Couple of things. As a photographer, you've got complete control of what you're doing. This right here, this nail polish is brutal, right? This is wearing off. You have control over this. You made a choice. You brought those hands up, right? So you can say as the photographer, oh, you know, she just showed up that way, her nails. Well, you can control that before she gets to the shoot. You should be saying something about how your nails should look, and I get it. Clients still don't listen. But if that's the case and they don't listen, that hand should not be brought up by the face. No matter how bad you want to do it, you should not do it for this exact reason. The hands start becoming super gnarly on all this. So let's keep digging into some other problems with this image. Again, things that I believe as a photographer, you can pay attention to that detail. The pose, super cheesy. I don't like it. She's leaning against the tree. It just feels overly contrived. And just reminds me of bad senior pictures. I don't mean that as an insult. I mean it as a way for you to improve. And so here's some things you can do to improve. So this weed right here, come on, man. Do some weeding, do some public service, rip that weed out. There's no reason for it to be there. Now this one here on the left, this one doesn't bother me as much. I like that we've got some shallow depth of field. It's going a little bit soft. I can live with that as part of the image. But if we dig into this a little bit more, here we start having some issues. This tree, easily removed with Photoshop, easily removed. And it's not about being a purist. It just doesn't belong there. So you've got this kind of tree stump growing out of her. If we can fix that in 10 seconds or less in Photoshop, and it makes for a better image. I got 10 seconds. And then the final piece of advice, watch how you're cropping. We're cutting off that wing right there. No reason to cut it off. One other piece of advice, look at this tan line right here that we have to be conscious of. You can fix it in post-production, but her arms are 2 different colors because of her tan line. This makes for a less pleasing image. That's it, folks. 2-minute critique with Sal. Hope this was valuable. Hope you found some nuggets of information that you can learn to make your next photo shoot better. Get out there, make great images.